Here is the recap of the first season of Peacemaker. Let's start with the fact that the character Peacemaker, aka Chris Smith, appeared in the 2021 film The Suicide Squad. I recommend watching it before viewing this recap. Also, keep in mind that Peacemaker is an ordinary person without superpowers. He is simply very strong and skilled with any weapon. He considers himself a pacifist hero who is willing to kill even women and children for the sake of world peace. As we know from the post-credits scene in Suicide Squad, Peacemaker does not die from a gunshot wound to the throat or from the building collapsing on him. The main character is taken to the hospital, and 5 months later he regains consciousness. Not finding the police, Chris goes home, but there he is met by agents from the Argus group. Let me remind you that Argus is run by Amanda Waller, and after her agents rebelled in the movie Suicide Squad, they were sent to the countryside on a special mission, part of which Peacemaker is supposed to be. Let me just introduce you to the agents. Myrn is their leader, Economos is basically a hacker, Harcourt is a weapons expert, and there's also a newbie named Adebayo. The agents give Peacemaker a choice. Either he goes back to prison, or he helps them with their operation, called Project Butterfly. Chris reluctantly agrees, and they give him all the information on the case. Peacemaker goes to his father, Augie, because he has a spare suit and helmet for the main character. We learn that Chris's father used to be a racist supervillain nicknamed the White Dragon, and it was he who created various helmets for his son, which turn out to have different properties. In addition, we see that the father does not have a high opinion of his son and despises him. Peacemaker takes his pet eagle named Eagly from Augie and goes to a bar, where he meets Harcourt and starts hitting on her, but she rejects him. Soon, Chris hooks up with a woman and sleeps with her, but accidentally leaves documents about the Butterfly Project in plain sight, and she attacks him. It turns out that she has superhuman strength and almost kills the main character, but Peacemaker gets to his car and activates his helmet, which destroys everything within a radius of several meters, including the woman. The agents try to rescue Peacemaker from this mess, as the police have already arrived at the scene of the crime. The main character returns to the apartment of the same woman to pick up his clothes and steal some items. Hiding from the police, Chris ends up in the apartment of a married couple and ties them up, then flees the building. Economos, in a hurry, accidentally rewrites the car and Peacemaker's fingerprints on his father, and Adebayo bribes the married couple so that they do not remember what the main character looks like. The police arrest Peacemaker's father and soon put him in prison, but he is used to it and is a celebrity there. Chris, by the way, is not happy with this outcome and is angry with the agents. We also learn that Adebayo is Amanda Waller's daughter, and that she sent her here because Amanda wants to have her own person in this case. Adebayo is not happy about this, but she needs money to support herself and her wife. Waller asks her daughter to put a diary in Peacemaker's apartment just in case, which the police can use to put him in jail. Roughly speaking, it's a safety net. However, because Adebayo subsequently becomes close friends with the main characters, she doesn't tell Waller what's going on with the case. Peacemaker heads home, where he meets up with a guy called the Vigilante, who's basically his buddy, and they used to fight crime together back in the day. I would also like to note that the guy is completely cuckoo and fanatical about Peacemaker. Vigilante learns that Chris now works for the government and wants to help him, but the agents forbid him from interfering. Peacemaker finds a miniature spaceship among the items he stole from the woman's apartment and hands it over to the agents. The main characters go on a mission where Chris has to kill the senator's whole family, because aliens might have taken over them. It turns out that's true, but Peacemaker can't pull the trigger, because he starts to doubt his beliefs about being ready to kill even women and children for world peace and all that. Then Vigilante appears, who has followed them after all and helps the main character shoot everyone in the house. However, the senator manages to escape, and a guard nicknamed Judo Master appears in front of the main characters and knocks them out. Peacemaker and Vigilante come to a cave beneath the senator's house, where he begins to interrogate them. Meanwhile, the other main characters find the entrance to the cave and blow up the door, allowing Peacemaker to escape and kill the senator. Suddenly, a butterfly crawls out of the dead man's head, but Chris catches it and puts it in a jar. By the way, He doesn't tell anyone about this and takes the alien home with him, telling the others that he killed the butterfly. At this time, Economos crashes his car into the judo master, who was supposed to pass on information to other aliens, knocks out the guard, and takes him with him. Peacemaker demands to be told everything about these aliens. Myrn explains that a certain alien race has arrived on our planet and wants to take it over, and to do so, they penetrate people's brains and gain access to all of their victims' memories. It turns out that there are a huge number of these butterflies on the planet, and only a few people are dealing with this issue. Having lost his helmet, Peacemaker goes to his father's house and takes all the remaining ones. Upon learning that his father has been imprisoned, the main character visits him in jail, and during their conversation, Augie realizes that Chris is to blame for his imprisonment. Vigilante decides to kill Peacemaker's father, believing that the main character will be better off without him. He ends up in prison and provokes the White Dragon, but he is not fooled, and now believes that his son sent an assassin after him. Argus agents learn what Vigilante is up to and pull him out of prison, as they know that Peacemaker actually loves his father and will not cooperate with them if he finds out that they are responsible for his death. Augie demands a meeting with the detectives. He informs them that his son actually framed him and suggests that they re-examine the evidence. The police reluctantly agree and are forced to release White Dragon. By the way, we also learn that Chris used to have a brother, and their father forced them to fight each other for the amusement of his friends. In one of these fights, Chris accidentally kills his brother, after which Augie begins to hate his son, and Peacemaker suffers psychological trauma. The main characters learn that butterflies can only feed on a special substance that they obtain from a specific warehouse. Peacemaker, Vigilante, and the agents go there on a reconnaissance mission, and Chris uses the X-ray vision built into his helmet to discover that all the warehouse workers are butterflies. The main characters discover a huge number of boxes containing this special liquid that the aliens feed on, as well as a giant gorilla possessed by a butterfly. In the end, they blow up the building and return to base. Adebayo puts on Peacemaker's helmet and uses his X-ray vision to discover that Myrn is actually a butterfly too. He tells Harcourt and Adebayo that he used to be on the side of the aliens, but they plan to enslave all humans rather than try to live in peace with them, so he betrayed his race. Harcourt and Adebayo accept this explanation and continue their work. By the way, Economos also figures out that Myrn is a butterfly, but doesn't want to hear about it so he can deny everything later if necessary. Myrn learns that the detectives want to arrest Peacemaker, as White Dragon has told them about his son. Myrn asks his old friend from the police to make sure that his detectives stop investigating Peacemaker, and he orders his subordinates to stop the investigation. However, they disobey the order and go to Peacemaker's home to arrest him. Meanwhile, Chris and Vigilante are relaxing at the main character's house, and when the police arrive, they take the jar with the butterfly, which I remind you, is still at Peacemaker's house, and try to escape. Vigilante accidentally breaks the jar, and the butterfly enters the detective, but the main characters manage to escape. The butterfly that has taken over the detective is, roughly speaking, the leader of the aliens and wants to deal with the Argus agents. She summons a whole swarm of her fellow creatures, and they take over the bodies of the entire police station. Since the police captain knew where Myrn lived, they went after him and killed the agent. They discover that there was a traitor butterfly in Myrn's body, and kill it too. Harcourt and Adebayo witness this, but the aliens do not notice them. Meanwhile, Judo Master breaks free from his bonds and tracks down the women, but they manage to knock him out. While Peacemaker, Vigilante, and Economos hide from the police officers hunting them, White Dragon decides to kill his son. He gathers a group of equally crazy racists around him and begins to track Peacemaker, using a tracker sewn into their helmets. Eventually, the villains find the main characters, and after a brief battle, Chris kills his father, realizing what an evil man he is. The main characters learn that the substance that the butterflies feed on is produced in one specific place by a sacred cow that the aliens brought from their planet, and if it is destroyed, the butterflies will die of starvation. Meanwhile, we are shown that this cow is simply gigantic in size, and the butterflies are trying to teleport it to a safe place as its location has been revealed. The main characters go to the farm and try to come up with a plan to destroy the cow. They have several Peacemaker helmets, one of which they throw into the hangar and activate a sonic blast like at the beginning of the series, causing the cave with the cow to collapse. The main characters set out to destroy the butterflies. Vigilante and Harcourt are seriously wounded in a shootout. Peacemaker descends into the cave, where he is met by the leader of the butterflies. She tells Chris that they don't actually want to take over all of humanity, but because humans are destroying their own planet, the butterflies want to prevent this, and to do so, they need to enslave humanity and impose their rules on them. At that moment, Adebayo descends into the cave wearing Peacemaker's helmet, which can launch its owner into flight like a rocket. The butterfly offers to help Chris teleport the cow, but Peacemaker activates the helmet and Adebayo pierces the creature, killing it. The main characters destroy almost all the butterflies except for the main one, which Chris spares, and go outside. There they meet the Justice League, but Peacemaker insults them for being late. Several days pass. All the main characters remain alive, and Adebayo gives a live interview in which she reveals that her mother, Amanda Waller, uses prisoners for impossible missions in exchange for reduced sentences. Amanda is of course far from happy about this. After some time, we see the main butterfly, whose days are numbered because she has no more food, sitting on the porch of Peacemaker, and Chris begins to hallucinate about his father. This is the end of the first season. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.